What if I told you that everything you think you know about manifestation is backwards? What if the secret to transforming your life isn't about doing more, trying harder, or perfecting some elaborate ritual? What if the most powerful thing you could do right now is the exact opposite of what everyone's teaching you? Today I'm going to share something that might sound completely counterintuitive, but it's based on cutting-edge understanding of how consciousness actually works. And fair warning, this might challenge everything you've been told about creating the life you want. You see, most people are approaching life like they're trying to push a boulder uphill. They're grinding, forcing, micromanaging every detail, checking their bank account obsessively, scanning dating apps desperately, monitoring their health anxiously. They're living in a constant state of effort and resistance. But here's what I've discovered through years of studying consciousness and working with thousands of people. The universe doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your state of being. And when you're constantly pushing, forcing, and trying to control outcomes, you're actually broadcasting the frequency of lack, desperation, and not having what you want. Think about it this way. Have you ever noticed how the happiest, most successful people you know seem to have this quality of ease about them? They don't seem to be trying as hard as everyone else, yet things flow to them naturally. They attract opportunities, relationships, and experiences without the struggle that most people think is necessary. This isn't luck or privilege, it's physics. At the quantum level, reality responds to the observer. But here's the key. You're not just observing with your conscious mind. Your subconscious, your nervous system, your entire energetic field is constantly broadcasting a signal. And that signal is what shapes your experience. When you're desperately trying to manifest something, your very desperation is telling the universe that you don't have it. When you're anxiously checking for results, you're affirming that the results aren't here yet. When you're forcing and controlling, you're creating resistance to the very thing you're trying to attract. Let me share something that completely changed my perspective. I was working with someone who had been trying to manifest a relationship for years. She had vision boards, she did daily affirmations, she visualized her perfect partner, but she was also checking dating apps compulsively, analyzing every text message for hidden meanings, and feeling anxious every time she went on a date. Her conscious mind was saying, "I'm ready for love," but her subconscious was broadcasting, "I'm desperate, incomplete, and afraid of being alone." Guess which signal was stronger? The breakthrough came when she stopped trying so hard, when she focused on feeling complete and fulfilled exactly as she was, when she released the grip of needing someone else to make her happy. Within months, she met someone organically, in the most natural way possible. This is what I call the paradox of caring less. The less you care about the outcome, the more likely it is to happen. Not because you become careless or indifferent, but because you remove the resistance that was blocking it in the first place. Your emotional energy is like a battery. Every day you wake up with a certain charge. Every time you worry about something you can't control, every time you stress over someone else's opinion, every time you try to force an outcome, you're draining that battery. And most of us are spending our energy on things that don't actually matter, on things that won't even be relevant in 5 years, 5 months, or even 5 days. But here's what happens when you start caring less about the right things. You suddenly have this incredible reservoir of energy available for what truly matters. Your authentic passions, your genuine relationships, your real purpose. I remember when I first started practicing this principle. Instead of spending 20 minutes choosing what to wear based on what others might think, I started picking clothes that made me feel good. Instead of crafting social media posts to get maximum likes, I shared what genuinely inspired me. These might seem like small changes, but they created a profound shift in my entire life experience. The quantum field is like a cosmic mirror. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, when you're sending a coherent signal, the field responds almost instantly. But when you're thinking one thing, feeling another, and doing something completely different, the message gets scrambled. This is where most manifestation teachings completely miss the mark. They tell you to think positive without addressing the trauma stored in your body. They tell you to visualize without clearing the subconscious programs that are sabotaging you. They tell you to affirm success while your nervous system is still braced for failure. But consciousness is holistic. Your subconscious mind, which runs about 95% of your life, is always broadcasting. Those old stories, those limiting beliefs, those patterns of fear and scarcity, they're running in the background like software programs, creating your reality whether you're aware of it or not. The heart generates an electromagnetic field that's thousands of times stronger than the brain's. When your heart and mind are in coherence, you create a powerful, unified signal. But most people are trying to manifest from their head alone, without the emotional component, without the felt sense of already having what they desire. You can't just tell the universe what you want. You have to become the vibrational match to it. That means feeling abundant before the money arrives, feeling loved before the relationship shows up, feeling healthy while you're still healing. It's not about faking it or pretending. It's about accessing the part of you that already exists in that reality. Here's a practical technique I want you to try. Whenever you catch yourself caring too much about something, ask yourself this question. Will this matter to me in 5 years? Will I even remember this situation in 5 months? More often than not, the answer is no. And if something won't matter in the future, why let it consume your present? This doesn't mean you should never care about anything. It's about developing the wisdom to distinguish between what deserves your emotional investment and what doesn't. Your peace of mind is too valuable to waste on things that won't contribute to your growth or happiness in the long run. Think about the most successful people you know. Their common trait isn't intelligence or talent, though those help. It's their ability to keep going despite setbacks. Their willingness to try new things without guarantees. Their capacity to care less about temporary failures and more about long-term growth. When you stop being paralyzed by the fear of failure, you start taking more risks. You start trying new things. You start putting yourself out there in ways you never would have before. You become more creative, more innovative, more willing to take the kind of calculated risks that lead to extraordinary rewards. But caring less doesn't happen overnight. It's not a switch you can flip. It's a skill you develop, a muscle you strengthen through consistent practice. At first, you'll catch yourself getting worked up about something, and you'll consciously remind yourself to step back. Your mind will keep circling back to whatever is bothering you, but gradually, something starts to shift. One of the most powerful realizations I had during this journey was understanding the difference between caring about outcomes and caring about processes. When you care too much about outcomes, things you ultimately can't control, you set yourself up for anxiety and disappointment. But when you shift your focus to caring about the process, the things you can control, something magical happens. Say you're giving a presentation. If you care too much about whether everyone will like it, whether they'll be impressed, you're setting yourself up for stress. But if you focus on the quality of your preparation, the clarity of your communication, the authenticity of your delivery, things you can actually control, you not only perform better but feel better too. This shift in perspective puts you back in the driver's seat of your own life. It gives you back your power, your agency, your ability to influence your experience. The practice of mindful detachment is crucial here. It's about developing the ability to observe your thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them. To watch your worries float by like clouds in the sky, acknowledging them but not letting them control you. Think of it like watching a movie. When you're completely absorbed in a film, you might feel intense emotions, but there's always a part of you that knows it's just a movie. The same principle applies to your thoughts and worries. When you catch yourself caring too much about something, try to create that same kind of mental distance. This practice doesn't mean you become emotionally numb. Instead, it gives you the power to choose what you care about consciously, rather than being at the mercy of every passing thought or emotion. Let's talk about relationships for a moment, because this is where the principle of caring less can seem particularly challenging. We're often taught that caring more equals loving more, but that's not necessarily true. When you care too much about what others think of you, you lose yourself trying to please them. When you care too much about being right, you win arguments but lose connections. The irony is that when you learn to care less about external validation, the need for constant approval, the fear of judgment, you create space for more authentic connections. You become more present, more genuine, more capable of true intimacy. When you stop caring so much about maintaining a certain image, you free yourself to be who you really are. And it's this authenticity that attracts the right people into your life and strengthens your existing relationships. What about ambition and goals? Doesn't caring less mean becoming complacent? This is a common misconception. Caring less about the right things actually fuels success, not complacency. When you stop caring about impressing others and start caring about impressing yourself, your standards become higher. When you stop caring about following conventional paths and start caring about finding your own way, you become more innovative. Think about any great achievement in history. It wasn't accomplished by someone who cared what everyone thought about their ideas. It was achieved by someone who cared deeply about their vision but cared less about the obstacles, the criticism, the temporary setbacks. This brings us to resilience. When you care less about things that don't serve your growth, you become more resilient in the face of challenges. Setbacks don't devastate you because you're not overly invested in specific outcomes. Criticism doesn't crush you because you're not dependent on others' approval. Here's a practical tool I want to share with you. I call it the care audit. Once a week, reflect on what you've been caring about. Make a list of everything that's occupied your mental and emotional energy. Then ask yourself 3 questions about each item. First, is this something I can control? If not, it might be time to care less about it. Second, will this matter in the long run? If not, why invest so much energy in it now? Third, is caring about this serving my growth and happiness? If not, redirect that energy elsewhere. This weekly practice helps you become more conscious of where you're investing your emotional energy. It helps you identify patterns that might be holding you back from experiencing greater happiness and success. The quantum field doesn't speak English or any human language. It speaks the language of energy. And energy never lies. You can say all the right words. But if your nervous system is bracing for loss, if your body is flooded with stress hormones, the field listens to that deeper frequency. This is why so many people feel exhausted from trying to manifest. They're doing all the techniques, but they're doing them from a place of desperation, scarcity, and lack. They're not in the timeline of already having. They're in the timeline of trying to get. The subconscious mind runs most of your life. It's the automatic pilot that shapes your habits, beliefs, emotional reactions, and sense of identity. You may consciously want breakthrough, but if your subconscious is anchored in old stories like I'm not enough or nothing works for me, those stories will collapse the wave into the same old outcomes. This is why affirmations without embodiment feel hollow. This is why visualizations without nervous system regulation collapse. This is why action without aligned identity leads to burnout. Quantum manifestation is not an add-on to your life. It's a recalibration of your whole system. It's about becoming the version of you that lives inside the timeline you desire before you see evidence of that timeline in your external world. If you want abundance, you practice feeling abundant now. You treat yourself with generosity and care. You let go of micromanaging outcomes and focus on embodying the signal of trust. If you want love, you practice loving yourself now. You open your heart, soften your edges, become the kind of person you wish to attract. When you stop needing it so badly, it arrives faster. Not because the universe is testing you, but because you're no longer the resistance. Every morning, before checking your phone, ask yourself what frequency you're tuning into today. Is it scarcity or abundance, fear or trust, control or flow? Throughout the day, use your body as your compass. Your body will tell you when you've slipped out of alignment through tension, tightness, contraction. In those moments, you don't need to shame yourself. You just need to notice, breathe, and recalibrate. Ask what the version of you living in your desired timeline would choose right now, then take one small action from that place. Community matters tremendously in this work. We're social beings who co-regulate with the people around us. When you surround yourself with others who are practicing coherence, who are playing in the quantum field, your system naturally entrains to that vibration. This is why it's crucial to curate your environment, not just physically but energetically. Find voices, spaces, communities that remind you of who you're becoming. Let your external world become an ally to your internal practice. Remember, there's no finish line, The point isn't to arrive and then stop. The point is to live inside a continuous unfolding where you become the living edge of your own evolution, where you don't just manifest things, but become someone who lives as a conscious co-creator, shaping reality through your very being. The quantum field isn't separate from you. It's not something you manipulate from a distance. You're entangled with it. You are the field. You are the wave. You are the observer and the observed. When you tune your frequency, you're not just asking life to meet you. You're becoming the version of life you've been seeking. This journey of learning to care less about the right things is one of the most powerful transformations you can undertake. It's about creating space in your life for what truly matters and finding freedom from the weight of unnecessary concerns. You will wobble. You will doubt. There will be days when old patterns whisper in your ear. That's okay. The power isn't in never falling. It's in how you return. Each time you notice you've slipped into old ways of caring too much about the wrong things, you create a choice point, and choice is the gateway to coherence. The most powerful manifestors aren't those who know the most techniques. They're the ones who have learned how to hold a coherent state, to regulate themselves back into alignment when life inevitably shakes them. They can stay in the frequency of trust even when evidence hasn't arrived yet. They hold the vibration of, it's already done, while the world still looks the same. This is where embodiment becomes non-negotiable. It's not about perfect thoughts or perfect emotions. It's about feeling real all the time and learning to bring your system back into alignment when you wobble. It's about welcoming your emotions without letting them drive the car. As you continue this practice, you'll notice the things you consciously choose to care about become more meaningful, more fulfilling. Your relationships deepen because you're no longer caring about superficial aspects but focusing on what truly matters. Your work becomes more satisfying because you're caring about the impact you're making rather than just the recognition you're receiving. The beauty of this approach is that it creates a positive feedback loop. The less you care about wrong things, the more energy you have for right things. The more you focus on what truly matters, the less power insignificant things have over you. Picture the immense possibilities that open up when you're no longer weighed down by excessive caring about things that don't serve your true self. Imagine the reservoir of creative ideas that flood your mind once fear of judgment no longer paralyzes your thoughts. Consider the rich, meaningful relationships you cultivate when you stop constantly managing others' perceptions of you. This transformation touches every area of your life. You start to discern between concerns worth your energy and those that only drain you. You develop the wisdom to invest your time, energy, and emotions in aspects that genuinely add value to your life. The quantum field holds every possibility. Success and failure, abundance and lack, love and loneliness, health and struggle. All of it exists as waves of probability. But the wave doesn't collapse into your lived reality until it meets a coherent observer. That's you, your focus, your attention, your emotions sculpting reality moment by moment. Most people are caught in a loop, observing from fear, focusing on what's missing, vibrating in the frequency of lack while trying to pull in abundance. In the language of the quantum, this is noise, not signal. The real art is becoming the version of you that no longer needs to chase. It's the version that remembers you're already entangled with the life you desire. The field is waiting for your signal. Your job isn't to push harder, it's to become clearer. So here's my invitation to you. Start paying attention to where you're gripping too tightly, where you're measuring and tracking and forcing and chasing. What would happen if you loosened your grip by just 10%? This isn't about passivity. It's about shifting from control to co-creation. And that shift, subtle yet powerful and revolutionary, is where quantum manifestation actually begins to work. When you master this, you don't just change your circumstances. You change your entire relationship with reality itself. You become not just someone who gets what they want, but someone who embodies what they are. The journey continues, and every moment offers a new choice point. Every breath is an opportunity to tune into the frequency of who you're becoming. Every experience is a chance to practice caring less about what doesn't serve you and more about what lights you up from the inside out. This is your invitation to step into your power, not through force or control, but through alignment and coherence. The quantum field is responding to you right now. The question is, what signal are you sending?